What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And today I am once again joined by Michael Darcy of KC Sports Report. It's been a while since we did something, but I brought him on today because I wanted to talk to you guys about the impending Chiefs free agents and what we think, or what we, kind of our opinions on each player and whether or not we want the Chiefs to bring them back or think the Chiefs will bring them back. I've been talking to you guys a lot about potential free agents the Chiefs could sign outside of the organization, and I'll continue my series on that as we go along. But I realized that I never did a video talking about the Chiefs free agents who we should re-sign and let walk. So I brought in Michael today to help me form opinions on all those guys, and he can give his takes. But Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Josh. It's always great to get back on your channel, and it has been a while. You know, that AFC Championship game was painful. We kind of had to let it all sink in, and as I said on my channel when you were in that video, I still can't believe it happened. But
I know
that's just life, and we got to move on. And right now, this is when championships are formed. Like, we need to see if the Chiefs can get back there based off what they do in the offseason. And I think the Chiefs are primed for a pretty big offseason. I think Brett Veach is going to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, and making the right decision on a lot of these guys that we're about to talk about is going to be a key step in that process, because there's some guys that the Chiefs simply cannot let go, and there's going to be some guys that the Chiefs have to move on from. They cannot tempt themselves. But let's go ahead and get right into it, with the first name on the list being that of Tyron Matthew. He's probably one of, if not the biggest Chiefs free agent, and probably the biggest question mark out of all of the players. I'll start with my opinion first, actually. We talked about it on your channel not too long ago. I think he's gone. I think he's done in Kansas City. I even talked about it multiple times on my channel on different videos. Like, guys, if you've been following this situation at all, like, it just feels like Tyron Matthew is gone. Like, if they really wanted him back, I think he would have been signed a long time ago, and he's going to hit the open market. I mean, Brett Veach has said they're going to use the franchise tag on Orlando Brown. You only get one franchise tag, which means Tyron Matthew's probably going to hit the open market. And when he does, I think another team is going to be willing to pay more than the Kansas City Chiefs obviously want to get Tyron Matthew. And I think the Chiefs just aren't comfortable with paying him all that money. They'd rather get younger, go another direction. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I love Tyron Matthew. I think the writing's on the wall. I think the smart financial decision is to let him go. I've seen stranger things happen. I wouldn't be completely floored if the Chiefs somehow found a way to get him back. But I think that there's going to be someone in free agency that's going to give him a lot of money to be the play caller and be the guy that calls the defense. And I don't think it makes financial sense for the Chiefs to go out and bring him back on a 2 or 3 year, 60. We don't have that money. Like, and if we do, it's not going to Tyron Matthew. I would rather give 3 years, $60 million to Marcus Williams or Jesse Bates or someone who is younger.
Definitely. I mean, they have the money. I don't think they have the money to feel comfortable giving Matthew what he wants and then also addressing the rest of the offseason needs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you could go with someone younger, like we talked about, Marcus Williams, Jesse Bates, if he somehow hits the market. But yeah, I think we're pretty much in agreement there. Next, so this guy, we've already seen movement on him. However, Brett Veach said recently that Anthony Hitchens, he's already been cut, but he said that he would like, or he wouldn't completely shut the door on Anthony Hitchens coming back to Kansas City. However, it would be in a smaller, more of a leadership role. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Please do not bring Hitchens back, Beach. Please do not, because he's another player that, like, you have to move on from. Because, Michael, you know the way this staff works. If they bring Hitchens back in this supposed smaller role, he's going to make his way back onto the field, and he's going to be in the exact same role that he had this year. Am I wrong on that?
He will be the starting middle linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs if he returns. That's just what will happen. So I think that, yeah, they've let him go. I think Anthony probably would have restructured his deal if they really wanted him here. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it did make sense. He's gone for a reason. Brett Veach is honestly very candid in his press conferences most of the time. Like, he's pretty truthful, but I don't think he's serious about this one. I really don't.
See, I think, he didn't completely shut the door, because I think he would actually be open to bringing him back if, everything fell into place, because Hitchens isn't on the team anymore. Veach doesn't owe him anything. He doesn't have to say, oh, we'd like to keep Hitchens, because Hitchens is not on the team. So the fact that he said that makes me think, crap, like, they're really going to try to bring him back if, like, all else fails. And
I will say, I would welcome an Anthony Hitchens reunion more than I would welcome a Frank Clark reunion.
Sure. Or even a Ben Neiman one.
No. Well, yeah. I don't want Ben Neiman. That guy's going to come up on the list in a little bit.
Yeah.
Our Ben Neiman take is not going to be a good one for Ben.
Yeah. Next we have defensive tackle Jaron Reed. So Jaron Reed, he took less money originally to come to Kansas City, and everyone was hyped up about it, as they should have been, because, it was a good signing, and it was universally agreed to be a good signing by just about everyone across the league. And then he kind of didn't really do anything, played a little bit better towards the end of the year, but still did not really perform up to expectations. He wasn't even that much of a force when Chris Jones moved back inside with him to take attention off of him. He wasn't good enough to justify moving Chris Jones out to edge like they did at the beginning of the year. It was a disappointing signing. You expected more. And the fact that he took less money, thank God, because had he gotten more money than he did, it would have been highway robbery by Jaron Reed in his camp, because he just wasn't that guy. He still has a place in the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's horrible, but I expect the Chiefs to move in another direction.
I'd even take him back on like a vet min, but I don't want him back for anything more than that. I think his time, I do think he logged some pretty good snaps later on in the year. Sure. But in the beginning, he was just god awful. So I think there's another guy that we're going to talk about later on that I'd feel much more comfortable bringing back. I'm not going to say his name because you'll do that later. But I think Jaron Reed's time in Kansas City is done.
Well, next on the list, we got someone else on the defensive line. I don't know if this is who you were alluding to, or if you were trying to say another defensive tackle, but Melvin Ingram. I think Melvin Ingram is one of the easiest ones on this list. You got to bring him back. I think he wants to be here. The Chiefs need him back. I think they want him back, and I don't think he'll be all that expensive. He walked into the building and was our best defensive end. There's just you have to bring him back.
That's an auto lock. If they don't bring him back, I don't know what they're going to do, because he was the juice man. He brought everything to the team, and he was your best pass rusher coming off the edge. And so just cutting ties with him, it wouldn't be smart. But I will say, I want them to go get a big name free agency signing at edge rusher or trade. And I also want them to draft one. So I don't want Melvin Ingram being the guy, but as a complimentary piece, it doesn't get any better than that.
Definitely. And like you said, they need to go out and get someone else alongside Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram cannot be your number one defensive end. He's going to be a really good number two if this offseason is done right. And also, Frank Clark isn't going to be on this list, but I have to find a way to bring him up because that's my thing.
Course.
But, they haven't cut Frank Clark yet. I don't know why. Because people might say, because they could do it post June 1st. Well, you can still cut him now and designate it for post June 1st. The fact they haven't cut him yet makes me think they're going to try to find a way to keep him for less money. I'm sorry. No, I don't want that. I'm not interested, because it's not about the money. I don't want Frank Clark here. I think you need to upgrade. And if they bring Melvin Ingram back like we want them to, and then they bring Frank Clark back, what are you doing to change the pass rush? Because unless Frank Clark is signing up to not be a starter next year, which I think his ego is too big to do that, you can't bring back Frank Clark.
Yeah, that would be really bad. So I don't know if he's gone to court yet, but he's still got some legal issues under his belt. And I think you're the Frank Clark hater, so I don't really have to be that guy, but I would join the bandwagon in full force if he comes back. Just let him go. You save so much more money if you cut him. I do think he's going to get cut. I do expect him to get cut, but man, there might be some instance in which they're like, we're going to work some things out. Maybe if they can give him another year, it might spread some of that money out and they can save more. But I don't know what exactly. I'm not a contract guy.
So what I saw is they can release him, and that would save them $2 million more than a potential restructure. People are saying that, for $2 million, you might as well keep him. No. I value the roster spot more than I value Frank Clark. It's not about the money. It's about revamping the pass rush. And if you want the pass rush to improve next year, you can't bring back Frank Clark.
Daryl Williams didn't make $1 million last year. I don't think Mckinnon made $1 million last year. That's 2 of your running backs for the Frank Clark $2 million. So yeah, $2 million. That's why they cut Damian Williams, because he was making too much money. It was like, I think they saved $1 million. So they're going to get rid of him. But if they don't, I think there's got to be something going on within this organization, because it would be a bad look. It'd be a really bad look.
It's just, it's one of those things where it's like Veach, Spags, coaching staff, you cannot keep bringing back these past contributors thinking they have something more to give when they don't. But we spent way too much time already on Frank Clark, so I'm going to move ahead in the list. Next, we got Charvarius Ward, the cornerback. Charvarius Ward, I've given him a hard time for most of his time in Kansas City. He was a very shaky cornerback his first few years. I thought fans kind of overrated him a little bit. And he kind of had that good story factor to him that made him more likable. So fans kind of thought he was better than he really was. He's at best a number 2 or a 3 corner. And the Chiefs put him in a lot of situations where he was the number 1 corner. And that's not Charvarius Ward's thing. You saw when he went up against some of the higher end receivers like Jamar Chase, Charvarius Ward might be in the right spot, but he does not have the ball skills or the talent to actually keep up with a guy like that. He's a solid corner, though. I would welcome him back if it's for the right price, because decent cornerbacks do not come cheap in the NFL. And I could see some cornerback needy teams getting in a bidding war for Charvarius Ward. And if that's the case, I'm out.
I agree. I think Charvarius Ward actually surprised a lot of people last year. I thought last year was his best year in the pros.
Yes.
There was talks where at times he was better than Snead. Like there was a couple week period where he was your number 1 corner. Like he was playing like it. But I think that the way that the NFL is, someone will pay a ton of money for Charvarius Ward. And I don't want that team to be the Chiefs. The Chiefs have kind of scraped the bottom of the barrel for the cornerbacks over the last 4 or 5 years. It wouldn't make sense for them to say, you know what, Charvarius, you're our guy. Let's give you 10 to 15 million. No, no, not at all. Like, let him go if that's the case. But if not, and if there isn't a market, by all means, bring him back. Because like you said, solid corners are difficult to get. And I thought he was more than just solid last year.
Yeah, he had a really solid year, and I agree with you. I think it was his best year in the pros. So I'm not against bringing him back. It just has to be for the right price. I saw his market value is around 10, 11, 12 million dollars. I think if you get in the upper echelon of those numbers that I threw out, then you have to step out of the ring and let him go to another team. I mean, think about it this way. I would much rather spend 17, 18, 19 million dollars on a cornerback like JC Jackson than give $12 million a year to Charvarius Ward, because you're paying a bit more for JC Jackson, but you're getting a so much better player. And no disrespect to Charvarius Ward, but he is no JC Jackson.
JC Jackson's here. Charvarius Ward's like right here. Like there's a difference. And it's because JC Jackson is a ball hawk. I think he had 9 interceptions one year. Like the dude is around the ball.
I was looking at his stats because I was writing something up about him the other day. In just 4 seasons, he has an absurd 53 passes defended. That's insane.
He's insane. He's legit. Like if the Chiefs could get him, but they had to pass on Ward, bye. Like goodbye. Like we would much rather have JC Jackson on this team.
Give me J.C. Jackson over Charvarius Ward for that price, and give me like Malcolm Butler on a super cheap 1-year deal. Like,
how old is Malcolm Butler though? He's like in the upper 30s, isn't he?
He's not too old yet. The thing is, he was mediocre with Tennessee and got released because he had that really big contract. And then he signed the 1-year deal with the Cardinals, but then he stepped away from football. And now he says he wants to return.
He's 32.
I'd bring him in. I mean, why not bring him in? But
I feel like Malcolm Butler could be like the Orlando Scandrick kind of guy. He's getting up there in age though. And like, you don't know if he's still got it. You know what I mean? That's my only hesitancy with Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, and it doesn't have to be Malcolm Butler. I'm just throwing out a name, but just like cheap cornerback on a 1-year veteran deal.
And draft guys. Draft guys. Yes, they need to do that.
Please, yes. Next on the list, though, talking about cornerbacks. Actually, no, I skipped ahead one. Next is Mike Remmers. Mike Remmers. He had a good run in 2020, filling in for Mitchell Schwartz. And then he filled in a couple times this year, but then he went on IR and you never really heard from him again. And honestly, I think that he might even retire, but he's already getting up there in age and he's showing to not be very durable. Now, I would probably move on. Good backup right tackle for the last couple of years, but there's really no reason to bring Mike Remmers back.
I agree. And I think that right now, if you're looking at Andrew Wylie or Mike Remmers, Andrew Wylie is a lot better. And he's young. Yeah. I think he's younger. And I would rather go with Wylie as a backup. And I don't think there's many questions about that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, next one. This is the one I was about to say, but then I skipped over Remmers on accident. Mike Hughes. He was a disaster, to put it lightly. He's not good. He consistently got beat in coverage. The only way the Chiefs should bring him back is because they need him for the special teams and, the potential to be a returner. But if he's playing significant snaps at cornerback at any point, you failed this offseason.
So, Josh, one of the things that I am known for by absolutely nobody is my theatrics. And I drew this up as you were saying that. He needs to go. We seem to forget, the Chiefs lost the AFC Championship game. Oh, my God. It's terrible. The previous week, Mike Hughes fell down and almost lost us the Buffalo game. We glossed
the biggest
over
moment of the game. The biggest moment of the game, the biggest moment of the season, he fell down. Yeah. I mean, how does that happen?
Mike Hughes has got to go. He's not –
Yeah.
I don't want to say that we didn't – I don't want to say that the 6th-round draft pick wasn't worth it, but with Trey Smith, you can get some guys in the 6th round that are probably a lot better than Mike Hughes.
I mean, heck, they got Melvin Ingram for a 6th-rounder.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's better value out there for your 6th-round pick. But, that's all that needs to be said about Hughes. Next, speaking of guys that don't need to be brought back, Dan Sorensen. Dan Sorensen is going to be remembered more fondly than Mike Hughes because of passings he's done in Kansas City, but he's similar to Mike Hughes. He needs to go, and he was brought back 1 year too long, and I know the Chiefs are going to tempt themselves thinking they should give Dan 1 more year. No, you can't. You have to move on, Chiefs. Please.
Love Dirty Dan. I was the biggest Dirty Dan advocate up until this year. I even in 2019 and 20 didn't really think he was that bad. And I thought a lot of people, and specifically Chiefs fans, were kind of overblowing his deficiencies because he always made those kind of plays that it outweighed the negatives. This year, he was god-awful. You could legitimately make the case he lost you 2 games. So Dan Sorensen's got to go. It's not really a question in my mind. But there's another guy that has to go, and we're going to talk about him later in the video. Mm-hmm. I don't think he is going to go.
Okay. Well, I think he's coming up here pretty quickly. But next, we got wide receiver Byron Pringle. So, Pringle, good player, good role player, good 3rd or 4th receiver. The wide receiver 2 spot was kind of up for grabs all year, and he, along with the other players, never really fully grasped it. He was inconsistent, but I would still like him off this team. Another team could give him like an Albert Wilson type deal out of nowhere, but if not, I think you should bring him back. I think he's developed a good relationship with Patrick Mahomes, but you still need to upgrade at receiver. And it's kind of funny, Michael, because I don't know if you see this a ton, but Chiefs fans kind of have like this false sense or perception of Byron Pringle and his career trajectory. Byron Pringle is 29 years old, and people think like there's this next level to him. I saw someone like a week ago trying to say that the Chiefs should not go after Michael Gallup because they had Byron Pringle, and Byron Pringle's on a similar trajectory to Michael Gallup. Guys, Michael Gallup's like 26 years old and has an 1,000-yard season under his belt. Pringle doesn't even have 1,000 yards in his career, and he's almost 30 years old. Like, Byron Pringle is not Michael Gallup. He's a fine player. He's not Michael Gallup. Like, I don't know where people are getting this from.
Yeah, I think a lot of Chiefs fans this year were trying to like push him into that number 2 role. And there's some Chiefs fans out there that still think he's a number 2 wide receiver. I think he's not a 2, but I think he'd be an elite 3 or a elite 4. But I think that 2 has got to be filled by somebody else. But if your receiving core is Tyreek Hill 1, free agency signing 2, or Jameson Williams, hopefully, and 3 is Byron Pringle, that's a really good receiving core. And Mecole Hardman was kind of scratching some of that potential in the end of the season. If they can utilize Mecole in the correct way, I love Mecole Hardman because they did that in the end. Like you saw like the bubble screens and just like getting him out in space. That's what they need to do. It's just putting guys in the right position to be successful. And if they can utilize Mecole Hardman like that for 17 games, he's going to have a good season.
Yep, I agree. I don't see this is a long list, so I'm trying not to spend too much time on each guy. But yeah, no, I agree. So I'll end it right there. I think that's a perfect summary of it. But next we got Chad Henny. If they bring him back, cool. If they don't, that's fine with me too. Chad Henny, I'm at a point with Chad Henny where it's like, okay, they brought him in to be kind of that veteran presence for Mahomes in the QB room when he was here. Mahomes doesn't need that anymore. He's seasoned in this league. He has everything now. He doesn't need Chad Henny to guide him. I think maybe this is the offseason we finally see the Chiefs go with a younger, higher upside option to groom behind Mahomes. I know they protected Shane Buechele in the practice squad a few times this year. I think they really like him. Maybe this is the year where he is the backup quarterback and they really start to tap into a higher upside option.
Yeah, I will say really quickly that Chad Henny added me on LinkedIn, so that's a positive. I love Chad Henny for that. But, man, anything is possible. That playoff game that he won for us with his feet, we'll never forget it. But goodness gracious, he tried to lose that game for us. So I think I would feel more comfortable going with somebody else. I would ideally like to get somebody other than Shane Buechele because I wasn't that impressed with him. I thought Anthony Gordon was better, actually.
You and Lucas were banging the drum for Anthony Gordon. I remember that.
We were. Because I think the reason why he didn't get the nod is because he was older. I think he was like 26-ish, and Buechele is like 23.
Mm-hmm.
I'll check that really quickly. But, yeah, I don't want to see Henny next year.
Yeah, understandable. Next, and I'll let you look that up while you're doing that just to satisfy yourself. But
Gordon's 24. Gordon's 24.
Okay. Next, we got Ben Neiman. Or, I'm sorry, not Ben Neiman. Sorry. I think he's the other guy you wanted to get to. I keep skipping over names. Daryl Williams, running back Daryl Williams. Daryl Williams, he had a good year, 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Good pass catching back. He's a running back that, as a runner, he's going to get you the yards you need, but a lot of the times, not much more than that. If another team pays him, fine, goodbye, because I think you need more athleticism at the running back position. But if you're able to bring him back just about what he played for this year, that's cool too.
I'm all about Daryl Williams. I love Daryl Williams. I argue that he was better than Clyde in the offense for a good portion of the year. I got flamed. I continue to get flamed. But guess what? Daryl Williams is my guy. I love Daryl Williams. Now, I think that he should come back. I would love him as the number 2 RB on this team. But I also think Jerick McKinnon, who's probably on this list, should be getting a lot of consideration. And if it's between the two, man, I'd probably go with Jarek.
Yep, I would too, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But I agree with everything you said there, pretty much. I like Daryl, but if he gets paid by another team for whatever reason, then I mean, like running backs, they're replaceable. But that's all that needs to be said. Next, we got Ben Neiman, similar to Dan and Mike Hughes, needs to go. Just please move on. Like, he didn't stick out like a sore thumb, kind of like he did the past few seasons. And he's the type of linebacker that in an absolute emergency, sure, he can play, but he doesn't need to be playing as much as he did this year. And I really just don't want him on the team, because if he's on the team, there's the potential that he does play as much as he did this year. So please move on.
Ben Neiman is, I swear, the bane of my existence. I cannot stand Ben Neiman. I feel like there's no upside. I don't understand why he's on the team. I want him fired out of a cannon. But like I was saying with Dan Sorensen, and I said, someone's going to be back on this team. Ben Neiman's coming back. And I hate that I have to say that. They're going to bring Ben Neiman back. And I hate that that's the case, but Ben Neiman is going to be in a Chiefs uniform next year. And I am ready for the slander, because he should not be in a Chiefs uniform next year.
I kind of hate it, but I have to agree with you. I think they're going to tempt themselves, and they're probably going to bring him back, even though I wouldn't. But
yeah, they need to go get a 3. They need to go get another outside linebacker that's not Benjamin Neiman. Like, go get a Damian Wilson kind of guy, because I thought he was significantly better than Ben Neiman.
Yeah, and they let him walk to the Jaguars for dirt cheap.
Of course. Yeah.
But next we got Kyle Long. I think this is the end for him.
I hope so.
Is there any argument there? I mean, he came out of retirement and didn't play a single snap all year long.
I don't think he even practiced since July. I think I remember him going out in training camp, be like, oh, he'll be back soon. No, he just never came back.
Yeah, he eventually started practicing, but still never even played. And by then, Andrew Wylie had been settling in, so there was really no reason to make a change. But
when I remember, because Niang also beat him out. I think if Long was fully healthy, Niang beat him out. Yeah.
But goodbye, Kyle Long. All right, next we got wide receiver Demarcus Robinson. Please just move on. How many years do we have to bring him back until it's okay, I've had enough of Demarcus Robinson? Right?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but I heard Demarcus Robinson's name and my ears went immediately up, because Demarcus Robinson has got to go. At this point, I don't care if he wants to come back as a charitable donation. We don't want that donation. Tell Demarcus Robinson to go somewhere else. He's not a good 4 wide receiver. I don't even think he's better than Josh Gordon at this point in time. And Josh Gordon really didn't play all that much this year. And when he did, he dropped footballs. I don't want to see Demarcus Robinson back on this team. And I think my final straw, the thing that set me over the edge, was in the AFC Championship game in overtime. Although Mahomes did overthrow him, they actively targeted Demarcus Robinson. Why? Why? What was the thought process there?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. And, they drafted Cornell Powell last year. I think he could maybe take over that Demarcus Robinson role next year. You eventually want to start processing these guys out that really shouldn't be here anymore. You've drafted replacements. You've signed guys. It's time to move on from Demarcus Robinson. So
the ship has sailed. The ship has sailed.
Yep. Next, we got tight end Blake Bell. They kind of have a logjam at tight end with Noah Gray, who they drafted, and he played, substantial snaps this year. Still got Travis Kelce, and Jody Fortson will probably be back. Maybe they bring back Blake Bell, but maybe not. That's kind of how I feel there.
I would be okay with either, because I really like Jody Fortson. I really like Blake Bell. Noah Gray, but I also like Blake Bell, so I don't really care what they do there. But like you said, they have so many other tight ends that Whether or not he comes back, it's not going to make some resounding impact on this team.
Yeah. I mean, he's fine at what he does, but he's not irreplaceable. Next, we got defensive end Alex Okafor. Alex Okafor, you're kind of going to be overhauling the defensive line. I don't really think he's going to be a part of that. They also drafted Joshua Kando, who can take Okafor snaps a little bit, eat into that. He's getting older too, and he didn't do a ton this year. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they move on, probably.
I really hope so. Now, he wasn't terrible at the end of the season, but in the beginning, I remember that Philly game, he just was not any good. So I'm going to stick up the get out sign. I don't want him back. I think you got to address that in free agency and the draft. The draft's going to have so many good other options. And Alex Okafor, his time is done. I hope he just retires because I don't know anyone that's going to go give him any money.
Well, we came crawling back to him after we voided his contract and he was still a free agent. And that's when I knew the Chiefs failed the offseason when it came to the defensive end position. They ended up making up for it a little bit later with the Melvin Ingram trade. But, Alex Okafor, I'm not overly impressed by, so I guess it's goodbye. Next, we got backup center Austin Blyth. I saw Arrowhead Addict. I didn't write this article, but they put out an article talking about Austin Blyth. And people are like, why would you re-sign him? He did nothing. Well, guys, he's a backup. Like, you're just lucky you didn't have to use him because you have an amazing interior. But he's versatile. He can play center or guard. He started for the Rams for a while. He's a guy with experience and was also not too bad for the Rams when he started at center for them. So, I like Austin Blyth. I would bring him back as the backup again.
I do too. I mean, there was conversation that even with Creed Humphrey, they were going to let Blyth play until training camp. Obviously, when we saw what Creed Humphrey could do. But I like Austin Blyth a lot, and I want him back on the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's a veteran with experience that can play multiple spots on the offensive line. That's the perfect Andy Reid depth offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Next, we got Jerick McKinnon, who we kind of foreshadowed earlier. I think after what he was able to do in the stretch run, you got to consider bringing him back, especially on the cheap.
I don't know why they wouldn't. Unless some other team's going to give him $5 to $7 million a year to just come be their guy, because he was really good in the playoffs, and I want him back. I want him back badly, but I also think that maybe we see some shenanigans going on where Clyde Edwards-Helaire is fed up and tired of splitting carries, and he wants more of a role. And maybe the Chiefs are like, all right, we're going to finally see if they gave everything to him, what would happen, which I hope's not the case. But
please don't.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But bring him back. I would love Jerick McKinnon back. I would like Jerick and Daryl.
Yeah. I've already talked about Frank Clark for longer than I had to. I'm not going to do the same thing with Clyde, so we're moving on. Next, we got Michael Burton, the fullback. If Andy wants to keep a fullback on roster another year, I'm fine with keeping Michael Burton.
He's a lock. He'll be back.
Okay.
Andy Reid will he'll always have a fullback, and Michael Burton is going to be the guy until he decides not to be the guy.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much agree. I don't know. It seemed like for a little bit last year, is Andy Reid not going to have a fullback? And then we saw the Michael Burton signing. But next we got defensive tackle Derek Nottie. He is a good run-stuffing defensive tackle, and I don't think he'll be super expensive. He gives you good defensive tackle depth. So I would think the Chiefs bring him back on a relatively cheap deal. Kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the Jaron Reed thing.
Okay, I figured.
I want Derek Nottie back. I think that he's really underappreciated. He's not going to go sack the quarterback. I think he had maybe one sack this year. But what he does in stopping the run, I think it paid dividends this year. Because this Chiefs team, they weren't great in the beginning of the season, but they really could stop the run towards the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anytime the run defense was improving, he was definitely a part of it, because he is one of the strongest players we have on roster, and he plays really strong. He fills gaps, and he's a good run stuffing defensive tackle. I think that's all that needs to be said. Next, we got Andrew Wylie. I would definitely bring him back as the backup right tackle on a fair deal. Maybe another team says they really like what they saw out of him and they sign him to be maybe their stopgap right tackle or something like that. We'll see, but I would definitely bring him back as our backup right tackle.
I would too, because I hate to be that guy, but I don't know if Lucas Niang is exactly going to be able to play a full 17-game season.
Yeah.
He's probably going to miss some time. And I think Andrew Wylie filled in really well last year. And I think he was better than Mike Remmers was when he filled in the year before. So I'm all for Wylie coming back. And I think he's kind of developed as a better veteran than he was kind of a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's a pretty simple one as well. Like, he's a good backup right tackle. And given the fact he showed us he could play when called upon this year pretty well, it's kind of also a no-brainer. I mean, especially if Lucas Niang is going to be known for getting hurt in the future, because he definitely did not stay healthy this year. So, yeah. Next, we got Orlando Brown. No-brainer. You bring him back. You spent all those resources to get him. He had a pretty nice year. We talked about him on your channel, so I'm just going to direct people towards your channel and plug the video that we did talking about Orlando Brown, because we just be saying the same thing, but yeah, bring him back. Sorry, did I cut out a bit?
Oh, we're back.
Okay. Sorry, I was gonna say, did I cut out?
I thought we were having like really good, smooth internet, and then right.
Oh, there we go. It's happening again.
I was thinking we're going to be in Kansas City now. Did you hear any of that, or did I cut out again?
Yeah, it was kind of choppy, but we agree on Orlando Brown. Are we good there?
He's coming back. He's coming back.
Yeah. He's coming back. Okay. Okay, so these next two, I'm just going to run through. Marcus Kemp, Dorian O'Daniel. Meh and meh. We good?
Yeah, they'll come back.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Kemp will probably be back. O'Daniel, I don't know, maybe, but meh. Yeah. And then we have Chris Lammons, who just got arrested. I'm going to say no. I think otherwise, yeah, maybe, but with that that he got into.
I think he was the one that helped Kamara, which I don't even know how that dynamic goes together. Like, are they friends or something like that? But yeah, I think Lammons.
Yeah, I guess so. Apparently, I want to say that the report said he was the one that started the fight. He threw the first punch or something like that.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
All right, sounds good. Armani Watts, he finally got playing time when Spags was forced to put him in the game. I think he wasn't too bad. I think he's a good depth safety. But I don't know. We'll see. The fact that they never really valued him when he was on roster makes me think that they could move on, but I would be fine if they brought him back.
I love Armani Watts. I would
good
love
special teamer too.
Very good special teamer. Bring him back. Like, what do you have to lose? I think there's a better chance he walks than the Chiefs not signing him back. I think that some team out there would give him not anything big, but I think they'd give him a shot.
Yeah, sure. Next we got Jody Fortson. He definitely showed flashes before he got hurt. I think it's a no-brainer that he's back. I think they want to see what he can do in this offense when he recovers. What do you think?
He'll be back. I don't think anyone. Yeah, he'll be back.
Well, I want to clarify. He's a exclusive rights free agent, which means the Chiefs have his exclusive rights. No one else can get him unless the Chiefs say we don't want him and they let him go. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be back.
That won't happen. He'll be back.
Yeah. And then next, it's the last but not least, Derek Gore, who actually showed to be pretty good. And when he actually got to play, and every time he got the ball, I think a lot of us were saying, why doesn't this kid play more? I liked what we saw from him. maybe the Chiefs get another high upside running back late in the draft or sign another veteran. Derek Gore is kind of out of the picture, but if he's back in Kansas City, I would like it.
I think there's probably a pretty good chance that he's on the practice squad next year if they bring him back, just because at a certain point you can't have Clyde and Jarek and Daryl and maybe somebody else on the same roster because no one's going to get snaps. But at the same time, like Clyde hasn't exactly proven that he can stay healthy. So I think Derek is probably going to be on the team. He'll probably be on the practice squad, but with how running backs get hurt all the time, he'll probably play at some point this year.
Yep, I agree. Derek Gore is a good depth running back, and if the Chiefs agree with us, I think they'll probably bring him back, unless they just have other plans at the running back position. And also, if Daryl Williams gets signed somewhere, like I mentioned earlier, then I think he's absolutely back because then that's just an open spot right there. But yeah, those are all the Chiefs free agents. We hit all of them, and I think we mostly agree on every single one. So that's good. Great minds think alike, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. But other than that, Michael, do you have any other thoughts or anything else before we hit free agency? I mean, I might have you back on again before and we talk about something or some news pops up. But yeah, any other words from you?
I think if you asked me in a month from now, like, what do you need to see happen? Like, what is the best case scenario? I think cutting Frank Clark, I guess, is not on the list, but cutting Frank Clark, getting rid of Neiman, getting rid of Sorensen. If they do that, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. It can't have those guys come back.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. I mean, I hope they move on from all those guys, but we'll see. I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't tempt yourselves.
Yeah.
Seriously, please just move on. It's time to move on. I don't want to have to complain about these guys all year long next year again. So
yeah.
Do your job, Brett Veach. Step up. Do not let Andy and Spags convince you that you need to bring those guys back, please.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I got, guys. You'll have to let us know down in the comments what you think of the free agents and if you agree or disagree with us on any of those. But if you've made it this far in the video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out Michael's channel, KC Sports Report, and you can follow him on Twitter as well. KC Sports Report. I'm pretty sure that's your handle. No underscores or anything, right? Just KC Sports Report.
That's it.
All right. Sounds good. So with all that being said, we will see you guys in the next one.